Welcome to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I am Colleen Waterston, and I am the owner of Space by Space Organizing, a Twin Cities-based home organizing business where I help people make sense of life by making sense of their stuff. And today I am joined by this show's resident productivity coach and just someone who has added so much value in my life since we've been able to be together through these conversations, Miss Ellen Faye. Ellen, hello.
Good morning, Colleen.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone out there.
And everyone out there. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. If you're listening on Sunday, happy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. If you're listening a different
morning,
day.
Afternoon, evening, middle of the night, whenever you
all of those. And all of these also connect with today. We are talking productivity and task list. And one of the things we're going to talk about is time of day and day of week, and when you focus on things that are good for you. So whatever you're doing right now, that is whatever day of the week, if it's Tuesday morning, Thursday afternoon, thinking of how you like to spend your time, when your podcast time is, when your learn things time is, when your zone out time. So we are going to get into that. So it wasn't a ridiculous welcome, but you are the author, Ellen Faye, Productivity for How You're Wired, ellenfaye.com, Ellen, Faye.com. And today we are diving into especially the prioritized task list. And so we'll also talk about weekly and daily planning and how the time matters about when you choose to focus on your tasks and when you choose to focus on planning your tasks. Right now, Ellen, my phone has been giving me so many storage almost full, and I pay to not have that. So I think it's actually just a glitch that I need to go in and figure out the right password that's not connected so that it stops telling me that my storage is almost full. But because it's almost full, it's operating at a lower capacity. I can't send a text with a picture as easily. It's, it's not delivering everything properly. And while I was reading through your chapters in preparation for today, I was like, this is kind of like when you have those task lists that are so overwhelming and you just don't get to something. But if you just took the time to get to it, to plan it, to sit and unpack the overwhelm for you, it would all flow smoother. I'm like, if I just sat down and figured out my storage, my whole phone would operate better. It's like if I sit down and figure out my weekly schedule, my whole week will operate better. And so I am like, I need this right now because I think my phone is just a reflection of how I feel right now, where it's just like everything in my brain and my life is storage almost full. Everything is
perfect metaphor for your to-do list, because if you've got it full of junk, you're going to not function at the highest level you are capable of functioning at. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
So for today's listeners, I think it's anybody out there, and right now, you might be listening in September, but right now it's May. And I just find May to be a month that everybody feels really overwhelmed. Like school's almost ending, summer's upon us. You want to make sure in Minnesota, it's real cold in the winter, real warm in the summer. We love our seasons, but this is like that transition to be setting yourself up to enjoy summer. So it's like clean the garage, get the things, do your spring cleaning so that you can focus on what's ahead. But I know, moms and parents just trying to get the summer camp scheduled, the teachers are just exhausted. So many people are feeling that pressure of May and pressure of time, but we could do this before the holidays and it's the same thing. So your book, we're going to focus on this prioritized task list. Our first segment, we're going to really dive into your methodology and your way of organizing a task list. And what I like about you have great metaphors throughout your book, Productivity for How You're Wired. And I've kind of, gone through the whole thing, but then when we've done these segments, I've dove back into or dove really, really closely into notes in the margin, those. So, we've talked about low, medium, high structured people. So we'll get to that too a little bit today. We've talked about email on an entire episode, and a friend texted me and said, "Can you talk about email?" I sent her our episode. I said, "I did." She's, "Good for you." So we're on it. But you have great metaphors throughout. You talk about, even with this, you talk about a dishwasher and how you load and unload the dishwasher, and how you're not going to sit there and, separate every single silverware and then come back to it, or just put the spoons away at a time. How you're like, I'm going to open the drawer and I'm going to put everything away at once. But so throughout, you have these great metaphors that just help people take productivity in some of these tasks and make them, if you're a visual learner, you give them the cues to help them visually learn. But you also say your to-do list should be like a conveyor belt where it moves something forward for you, so that it's like, if you process it the way you're going to share with us, your to-do list, your task list, those things that stress you out should actually work for you and make everything flow, so that on occasion, maybe system glitch and we get a backup, and then you go and you fix it, and,
Right.
everything runs smoothly again. But I love that visual of the conveyor belt, because that makes me think, I would love to have a conveyor belt in my life. I'd love for my tasks to feel like they're just flowing through me all the time. So tell us about your process, like how you came up with this process for task lists, and the biggest problems that people have with their task lists, and how this method, and if you buy Ellen's book, you get access to all of these different tools, like the blank templates, and you can get them digitally or in a print version, and they're beautiful, and it starts it for you. So you can go and get this tool list, but explain for people who aren't looking at it, what's your task list process?
Okay, so first let's talk about how I developed this. So
Please.
I started out as a residential professional organizer too, 25 years ago. Oh my God, right? But it didn't take long, because I have a business background, for people to say, "Oh my gosh, can you come home, work in my home office, and then can you come work in my..." So I spent like 20 years sitting next to people, trying to help them find a system that worked. So I went through all the tools that were out there. I went through Franklin Covey, and I went through the Eisenhower quadrants, and I went through David Allen's Getting Things Done approach, and I went through, they bought this planner that thought was going to fix everything. At the end of the day, I just figured out that if we divide your tasks by priority, and what you were talking about the dishwasher, is when you're putting the silverware away in the drawer, you don't sort it on the counter first and then put it into the slots. You put it directly into the slot. Oh, that's a fork. It goes in the slot. So the basic structure, this is moderate structure, and we've talked about different people need different degrees of structure to be their best and do their best work. Moderate structure, 4 divisions: critical, hot, sooner or later. Critical are things I need to do today for the most part, or I can't go home, or I can't stop working, or I can't leave my desk.
Do you have a number that you feel is the max of critical things to get done in a day?
It depends on the person. So when we talk about daily planning, we are planning that day's work. So some people, there's so many good ways to do it, and every day can be different. So yeah, you could say, I'm going to extract 3 things from my critical list and put it on my today list, and work. When those 3 things are done, I'm going to go back and find more if they get done. Other people like to say, here's my eat that frog, one big thing, and when that's done, I'm going to put a couple things on deck to move in. Then I'm going to go back to my critical list and start working. Other people, if you've got meetings all day, you're going to, and you have no time to get anything done, you may not need to do a to-do list that day or today list that day, because you're in meetings all day. On the other hand, if you have a day that you've cleared purposefully to do a lot of work and focus work, sometimes I like to project how long it's going to take and come up with a little schedule with benchmarks. By 10 o'clock, this should be done. By 11, I should be here. So I can then make that choice of saying, okay, I'm supposed to, if I want to get everything done I need to do today, I'm breaking it into small little chunks. I need to be done with this by 10. Am I going to choose to hurry and finish it up because enough is enough and good enough is good enough? Or am I going to choose to invest more time and take something else off because I can't do more than the time I have? So sometimes when I'm doing the daily planning, and a lot of people like this depending on how much structure they like, they're going to be more detailed. Okay. Other people, if they don't like structure, just say, here's one thing, I'm going to do this. When that's done, I'm going to go find another thing.
I just think it's important to point out, because all of your work is very productivity for how you are wired, and it takes away all those, there's so many books that are like wake up at 5. I know you thought of saying you don't have to wake up at 5 for your book title even. But I think it's really good to point out how much your tools say be honest with yourself. And so I see, so much shame in the home organizing world. And I think that there's shame in the momming and parenting world, and shame in the I didn't get enough done world. And I think that what I like about these lists, like, I am so excited that this episode has come when it's come for me, because right now, like, I'm really excited to implement what I've learned and what we're talking about today. And it's all like, give yourself grace. So with the priorities, we're going to have 5 sections of this to-do list, but with the first being critical, I like that it's like, on a day that you have the whole day open, you might have 5 critical things. And on a day when you have meetings, it's okay to say, today, nothing critical, that those meetings are the thing. It's critical that I wake up and go to those meetings. And then the next day, okay, I have 3 hours in the afternoon. I could do 1 critical thing. So I think that when it comes to that, like, and your color for critical is red, because it's kind of like, this is the most important. This is what's on fire. It's like, be graceful and give yourself like realistic time to do the things that you need to do, so that you don't feel bad that you don't get it done. Like, don't set yourself up for failure is what I get throughout all of your lessons. And I think people need to know that. And that's why if you buy this book, or you go and you use Ellen's resources, when you go and you do that, like, be easy on yourself, because if you take a to-do list item into the next day and you're mad at yourself for not getting it done yesterday, you're already behind because your brain's not motivating you. You're feeling bad. So it's like, that critical thing is probably not the longest list on this list. These are the things, get this done. So now we move after critical. Where do we go?
Hot, which is, so critical and hot, I want you to think of, these are the things that need to be done this week. Okay.
Okay.
Hot, if I don't do it this week, there's a consequence. What is that consequence? I miss an opportunity. I let myself down. I let somebody important to me down. It costs me money. If I don't pay my bills and I have a late fee, it costs me money. Or I just feel really embarrassed, right? So here's the things I need to do. Critical, sooner, like imminent. Like, I have a client, and the labels don't matter. I have a client that labels that column pants on fire.
Okay.
Okay. So
what do they label critical?
No, that's critical. Pants on fire.
Okay.
Then hot. And then everything else I need to get to sooner or later. So basically, I'm going to focus on my critical and hots this week. And then during my weekly planning, I'm going to go look at my sooner and laters.
Which is literally the 2 next columns. So it goes critical, right, hot. And I do love that pants on fire, because it's like, critical would be like, the fires to the waist, get these things off. And hot would be like, the fires around the ankles, get these things off. Like,
Like this,
Everything
or
needs to come off.
even if you don't have that urgency, it's like, still, what do I want to accomplish this week to feel good about myself?
Right. What do I want to accomplish so that I can have a great weekend? So I can reward
Oh
myself.
my
And even in your book, you mentioned right now, you said making yourself happy, not being mad at yourself, but just having something done for yourself, that is enough. You don't have to do this for someone else. It could be motivated by yourself. You explicitly say that, and I appreciate that.
Mhm. Right. And it's easy. I think it's just human nature to not want to let other people down. But if we could give ourselves that kindness of not letting ourselves down. So,
And then the next ones are that sooner or later. So
right.
it literally is,
And then
oh,
I
you gotta
also,
get to that sooner or later. And so it goes sooner and then later and then
I have a waiting column.
waiting.
So that is for things that I've done everything I can, and I can't do anything because I'm waiting on someone to get back to me. If I leave that in my critical list, it's going to clutter up my space and I'm going to miss something else. But if I leave it in waiting, I could check in onto that every day or two, or once or twice a day, to say, oh, have I heard from my virtual assistant on my blog post yet? Because I write it, she does the graphic, then she sends it back. So I am waiting. So that's in waiting, because I'm waiting for Pat right now to send me back my graphic. I
But
can't
your
do
critical
anything.
might be uh, email Pat. If it's important to get done,
Right.
you
Like,
might.
I'm going out of town next week for my nephew's wedding. So I want to get that posted. Usually she's very good about sending it back, but I want to get it posted before I leave town. So I'm happy leaving it sitting in the waiting. Let's say I feel like I want to let her know I need to post this Monday. Please get me the graphic by Monday morning. That might be an email that I want to put on my today list. So,
And you also talk about how to write these, that you don't write email Pat to make sure
let me
that
show
the
you.
post is up. It's like Pat blog post. You
Right.
said your brain works in cues.
See this.
Yes.
I have this page in my book bookmarked, because if you put too many words on your to-do list, all you see is clutter and you miss the most important things. I remember standing in Times Square in New York City once, and I needed to find where a theater was, and I asked somebody, and the guy said, see that big M&M? It was a 5-story M&M. There was so much visual noise in front of me that I couldn't see the 5-story enormous M&M. This becomes visual clutter. So this one says, call John Smith to review details of the Boston project. You don't need all that detail. That's just clutter. This is to cue you. Your brain knows, it cues you. If you stay and said, call John, Boston project, you see less and it's much more effective. And then it doesn't take so much space. So like the next one is email landlord Rich to discuss fire code, roof access, and pest control. Instead, you could just say email Rich landlord list,
Right.
And
Right.
so keep it
Because
really
if you're
simple.
annoyed and you know you need pest control, you're not going to forget to mention that.
Right. Or you could have it somewhere else. And if you're high structure, you might have all like the landlord list and the handyman list and the vacation ideas list. And if you're low control, that critical hot sooner or later may just be now and later. I had one client who didn't like lines and didn't like boxes, but she had a big white artist pad with no lines and no clutter. And when I'd come to work with her, she'd draw a line down it. Here's what I need to do now. Here's what I need to do later. So that's low structure. So if you don't want to buy my book, it's like a bargain on Amazon, right? Because like a planner costs you $50. The book is a few dollars, right? So, but let's say you don't. Go on my blog. I've written about this on my blog for ages, so it's all there. But I don't know where I was going with that. But there's lots of examples that show you different ways and different approaches. But I want to go back to that conveyor belt
Yeah.
process. So if you Keep all of your to-dos on a big running list. And this is people's nature. They have a spiral notebook and they keep writing, they keep writing, they keep writing. And they circle in red the things that are important, or they put asterisks by it. But everything is equally important. They've repeated themselves 3 or 4 times, so they feel so much more stress and pressure that I have so much more to do than you have to do, because it's on there over and over again because you keep forgetting. So if you segment your tasks by priority when you want to do them,
critical, hot, sooner, later, waiting,
then that becomes a conveyor belt that feeds you the right tasks at the right time.
I'm all on board. I'm on board for pretty much anything Ellen Faye tells me to do. When we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, I want to keep talking about this, but we're going to talk about the landmines in your book and the things that get people, like the negative things that have led to reinforce why this simplified version of a to-do list, a task list, really is the right way forward. So a lot of people probably resonate with those items on your list of like, I've done that. So we'll be right back, Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston. All right, welcome back to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston and Ellen Faye, our productivity coach. So Ellen, you wrote Productivity for How You're Wired. You've been helping people get organized for decades. And we are today talking about the task lists. So we started just by breaking down your very simple but very proven to be successful, critical, hot, sooner, later, waiting task list. Now I want to focus a little bit on why you came up with this and why you have your clients work within this context. And also, you're big about the method first, the tool later. So what does that mean?
So everybody, and we're going to talk about some of the landmines people run into with their to-do list. It's everyone's is unique, but it's all kind of, there's a theme, right? But everyone thinks it's the tool that's going to change their life.
If I just buy this
One more
book.
Oh, it's pretty, I'll use it.
It's my favorite color. It has my favorite inspirational quote. And when I open it up, it sings.
And then a week later, it's sitting there. And a month later, they feel like they're a loser because I just spent $90 and this isn't the solution.
And no one throws those away. Like they all sit in an office as like a physical reminder of one more thing.
You look at them, right?
One more thing that didn't work. I've been in people's home offices with like 10 of those, and some are spiral and some are bound and some have dates and some do not. And then oftentimes if someone has 10, they have like 100 beautiful markers or pens that they're so excited to write within it with. And it's like you want to throw them away, but you feel it's hard to throw something away that costs that much, but you're so excited about the tool that's going to arrive and it's going to change your life. So tell us why we should focus on the method first and what that means.
What that means is if you want to be a writer or a poet or a computer, you have to learn the alphabet. So let's get the foundation. Let's learn the basic. And that is this concept of organizing your list into segments that guide you and support you. Then you can apply it to the tool that fits you best.
Because you also say like 5 to 15 minutes a day to go through this. You say like, don't sit down for an hour or two just to manage and rewrite your to-do list.
Right. So that's one of the landmines. When you have those long spiral notebooks, you are rewriting and rewriting and rewriting all the time. And you think if you organize it into priorities. So I love doing this for me on a Google Sheet because I could keep it on a second monitor. I could see it all the time. I could fit a lot of things. I could put links there. But if
That
you
is so smart. So if you have 2 monitors at your computer, at your desk, having one have your Google Sheet. I'm not on my computer much for me. So physical paper might be better because I'm always on the go and I do like that. But if somebody is on a computer a lot, that and you do have 2 monitors, that's smart to just set it up on, the non-main monitor so that you're looking at it. I love that.
if you're a paper person, you can do this, right?
So you
You
have 4 Post-it notes with lines on top of a lined notebook you have a legal pad. I do like a spiral. I like something that I can rip it out. I don't like binding that keeps it all stuck. So Ellen's got critical on top left, hot in top right, sooner bottom left, later bottom right.
And here's another one. You could use different size Post-its because
Okay.
the today list is
So
going
she's
to
got
change all the time.
today in a different color, lined, then critical underneath it, and then on the right side it goes hot sooner later with smaller Post-it notes.
I've had clients that have personalized and created this concept. You could put this into a spiral. You could put it into, you can like use apps and organize your apps, or Notion is great for that. I mean, you could do Trello or Asana or Planner. You could organize all of your tools. It doesn't matter the tool, but stop making these big, long lists that don't serve you and don't support you. Organize your to-dos by priority. That's a priority task list.
Well, and I'm glad to see it out the way that you have it because I was reading your book and I'm not a sticky note girl for a list. I'm a sticky note girl for other things. But I have a client who is a sticky note list girl, and I find her sticky note list from 15 years ago. Like, and they're sometimes, a very important phone number next to a grocery list from 8 years ago, next to so to me, I see the sticky notes as they just add up and they're so small so they get lost like amidst receipts and amidst things.
Right.
You actually use the sticky note as a way to, reorganize your list on a bigger sheet of paper. So I
Mhm.
think that, like when you buy those binders of fancy agendas and stuff, they have blocks, things blocked out. These are your top 3 priorities. This is, how much water you should drink in a day. Did you work out? But you're saying you can make that for yourself with a generic pad of paper and sticky notes.
Or if you love the beautiful book, you could pop your sticky notes into that. What I don't want you to do is waste your time writing things over and over and over. Now, some people, when they do their weekly planning, it is part of their mental process to rewrite. I find it is a tremendous waste of time. So that's why I like the Post-its, because I like the sooner and laters. I hardly ever rewrite those. The criticals I'm rewriting every day, and the hot I might rewrite once a week. Okay. I want to also show you something else.
I think this shows like, oh, what do you do when you hire a productivity coach? It's like a session might be going through how you're currently managing your tasks.
Always.
And
Absolutely.
being able to have it written down for you. And that's where the return, like I always say, the return on investment for a home organizer is when you don't need to go buy batteries, those things that you just
have them, right.
find. And it's like, oh, no, now you know where they are and you're not making the ones you have go bad or spending money on new. To me, the productivity coach is like, you're gaining hours of your life back. You are, the lack of stress, the amount that you're releasing yourself to actually feel in control of your own life, and that, yeah, of course, the world is crazy and wild and things are going to come in your way. But the productivity coach and if you do choose that you need to hire a coach, Ellen or one of her colleagues, it's like, this is going to be very customized to you. It's going to be saying, okay, what are you doing? And then you who do this with so many people can say, I know that we've talked about the low, medium, high structure. So, I'm a moderate structure person. So when you talk to me, you can say, Of course, that's not working for you, Colleen. It's way too high structure, and if you do too low structure, no wonder you're not getting that done because there's not enough around it. So that's part of this method and the tool conversation because you're saying, sure, if you want to go deeper and deeper, go this way, but here's the basic methodology, and now you can buy the tool for it from here. But
And
you
you
get
don't have
that
to spend
customized
money. I mean,
feedback.
you don't have to spend a lot of money on a tool. This is Levenger's Circa system. It's a disk system. Office Depot has their tool system, which is TUL, which is a lot less expensive. So if you want to try that before you really invest in this quality stuff.
And the disc you're saying is like it's like a spiral, but they're not this.
Move the pages so you can say, here's my critical, and you can move them around, but it's still in a binder. You could do critical hot sooner or later, each on its own little page. You can put these little tabs up top that you can label, and you can see how I put these post label tabs here to keep me labeled. So you can customize this as well, but it's movable. So you might have your critical and hot list you rewrite often, but your sooner and later list or your project list or your travel list, those don't have to be written often, but you could find them. So I do love this as opposed to a spiral.
I'm like smirking because those memes that are like, I was today years old when I learned about blah, 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 and like, I don't think I've ever looked at a disc and felt compelled to have one. Like I just get a spiral binder and I know that I don't like the bound ones. But I'm kind of drawn to this binder, this disc, because it still can contain it without a 3-hole punch. It's like a mix between a 3-hole punch meets a spiral meets a bound.
And then there's people like me that just love that control over creating my own ways. So I bought a Circa punch. I bought a punch that creates it so I could take my pieces of paper and make whatever I want, print them out on my computer, cut them down to size and punch them and put them in. So it's so much.
I feel like that's a very big ADHD win, like to be able to be in control of your own way. Like I'm going to the store to buy one. I'm going to the internet to buy one. I look forward to buying one. Okay, so we kind of touched on these landmines, but let's just go through your 5 from chapter 9. Projects, not tasks.
No, tasks, not projects, actually.
The landmine is projects, not tasks. So if you're focusing on your project, not tasks, that's the landmine.
If you put a project, if you have something on your to-do list that is not moving, that tells me that it's too big. You need to break that project down into an actionable task. So you could put the later list, the project there, or you could even create a project space. If you're using a spreadsheet, you have lots of flexibility. If you're doing Circa, you have whatever your tool is, you can, if the notepad, it's 4 or 5 things. Okay. But you can have a projects list somewhere. But that holds the big idea. But in terms of critical and hot and what I'm doing today, those need to be actionable tasks that help you say, I can do this in one sitting. Can I do this today? Can I do this action? If it says update my website, that is a project. If it says decide website pages, that is a task. So your to-do list, your actionable need to be actionable items. Next landmine.
Big long list is the next landmine.
We talked about that. It is. So when you have a big long list, it is not helping you. It's just giving you more stress and more pressure.
Because the third one is rewriting again and again.
And you're wasting your time.
The fourth one, leaving updates to chance.
Right. So let's say you do the system and you have this in sooner. Let's say it says airline ticket for August vacation, and that's in sooner. And you don't want to buy your airline ticket till maybe 6 weeks out. Now, if you never go back and look at your sooner or later list, what's going to help you remember to buy that airline ticket at the right time? So once a week, you need to take a couple minutes and look at your whole list, read it over. What can come off? If priorities changed, is it no longer important? What needs to move up? Or maybe something's changed and it's no longer critical or hot, but I don't want to get rid of it completely. I'll go put it over in later. So by looking at your list and coming up with a system, I call that weekly planning, to look at it, you are not leaving your updates to chance.
Well, and that might be an opportunity to put a calendar item on compared to on your list. So, and there's some days even where I'll go and like put on my calendar my order of errands and things, and then I delete them after. Like, I don't want that I got my returns done from 9 to 11, but sometimes I kind of map it in my calendar. But you could say, okay, 6 weeks before the trip, buy the tickets and put it on your calendar for that morning, so that when you're, it's like a different way of alerting you, but having it in your later.
I use the Google test for that if it's really, really important.
Yeah. The last landmine is, we've kind of talked about this, but expecting the tool to fix the problem.
Right. It's not. It's just another way for you to waste money and to spend money. And actually, even worse, is for you to feel bad about yourself.
So this is where I think, and we'll end on this before we come back and kind of talk about how to put planning into your life and really like do it in a way that is enjoyable in your life for how you're wired. But this whole like expecting the tool to fix the problem felt very similar to home organizing. And so, you've really focused your business on productivity coaching now, but you've been in people's homes, and I'm really in the in-home. My clients are in person. I'm touching all their things. There are so many times. So first off, I felt like with all of the tasks, like I have it, you hire a home organizer to come up with the critical hot sooner or later waiting for within your home, within the physical stuff of your home. And I feel like people don't think how much goes into organizing a pantry or organizing a space. They just think, I want it done. I wish I had 2 hours to do it. And it's like, you actually need 12 human hours to do it right. There's more to it. And I was thinking how, like, when I go into a consult and I come back with the scope of work, I'm just giving them, like, here's kind of how I'm going to do it. But in my mind, and maybe even on paper and with my team, I've told them, here's the most critical. Then we're moving into the hot. Then we're focusing, like I have an order of things that you're hiring me for that I'm going to make sure I finish it. And I so often kind of like those shiny object planners that people are buying and thinking, this one's going to change my life. It's like, how many times did you walk into a client's house and they spent enormously on bins that weren't even the right size? And it's like, I hate to tell you this, but you bought 10-inch depth bins for your pantry and you have 16-inch shelves. So you're losing like 6 inches. Like, there's a lot of space that's not being used here. But then if you hire me, I'm going to be like, what's in your bathroom? Because we can probably use those there. That's why I like, I can, whole home it. But it's like, there's so much frustration when someone goes, to the Container Store, spends $300 and they didn't buy one perfect solution. They didn't know how to put it into practice. That's where it's like, you go buy the tool, but you have no idea what to do with it. And you might need 10 of those containers. You went and bought 6. If you didn't buy the other 4, you're not going to be happy. It's when so that's where like when you do hire, I'm going to bring 12, like
because we know we can help. Really what we do is help you. We're the remover of obstacles. We're helping you create the life you want to live.
And break down bigger, harder to understand things, spaces, and, the space of our life and the space of our homes, and how we use what we have to the best for ourselves. So, I mean, I would hire either of us in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. So spacebySpaceOrganizing.com for me, Ellen Faye, FAYE.com for Ellen. And we'll be back to give you some free knowledge in the next segment where we're going to tell you how to take what we've been talking about and put it into action in your own life. So this is Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950. We'll be right back.
love music. It's great.
All right, welcome back to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950. I am here today with Ellen Faye, productivity coach, author of Productivity for How You're Wired. And I am Colleen Waterston, owner of Space by Space Organizing, which really focuses on home organizing, often finding ourselves in an office with people full of paperwork and just kind of disorder throughout the house, a lot of overwhelm and trying to manage the chaos of life. And Ellen has come on a few times now and is on today, and we are really tackling the task lists. And I think that some people might be like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time to sit and write out all my tasks. I just have to do things. I just need to go, go, go. Like, I don't have time to think about how I'm going. I just got to go. And it's like, there's so many quotes on that. You have some in your book. You have one in your book by a client. You have, the war one about preparing for, there's a general. Yeah. You have some in your what is quote in your book? Yeah.
Plan your work your plan. I mean, there are a billion, yes.
But you have a client, Maggie, who talks about the importance of planning.
This is what Maggie said to me. Maggie is moderate to moderate low structure. She's in a development position, high stress. And she said to me, I used to think I didn't have time to plan. Now I know that planning is the greatest expression of self-care. I said, oh my God, can I write that down? Can I quote? She goes, yeah. Because she didn't think she had time to plan. Then she realized she didn't have time not to plan. Because when you plan, when you commit a little bit of time to plan what work you're doing and what's important, that helps you feel less stressed, less anxious. And sometimes a client will say, well, how do I know? How do I stay motivated? I said, when you don't plan, how is your week? Well, I am stressed all week and I don't get done what I want to get done. And I feel like a loser on the weekend and I am too exhausted to relax and I'm too exhausted to work. And I go to work Monday and I haven't gotten anything done. And I haven't relaxed. And it's just like one bad week after another. And I said, and how do you feel when you take time to plan? Actually, I get to Friday and I was like, wow, I didn't get everything done I wanted to, but I don't have to work this weekend.
Oh, and I love that because I started this episode by saying how right now my phone is at storage almost full. And it's not working well because I can't send pictures. And I love sending pictures. I have so many pictures on my phone. I love sending a picture to a group text to anybody. It just kind of visualizes what I'm doing. I'm not a social media girl, but the people in my life I'm a texter of pictures. I can't text them, so I'm
There's some really simple things you could do to wipe it out in like 5 minutes.
5 minutes
off. You just go like when you're in like waiting for somebody
But to me, it's like, it's not even that. It's about a moment where it's like, I just need to sit down and like, it's indicative of what I need in my life right now. And it just feels like I'm not optimizing my time in a planning way. And I'm so excited to go home and take the time after reading this and kind of put things together for me. You talked about like when to plan. So you talk about daily versus weekly planning. And, we have less than 5 minutes, but I think we can definitely just help people understand, when to make time to plan and how it does help the rest flow. Like you talk about, your weekly planning. Some people love planning Friday afternoon and closing out the week by saying what got done. Let me prep for the week ahead. Some people like to get through the week, sleep a night, and then Saturday or Sunday, Saturday be like, okay, I'm going to take the morning to just kind of look at what I did and look at what's ahead. Some people like Sunday evening. Okay, I got through my weekend. What's ahead? And then some people like Monday morning, or even for the daily task, you talk about morning or evening. So for me, when I read that, it's very obvious. And I think most people have a gut reaction to when they're going to be like, for me, if I say I'm going to do this in the morning, I lose the amount of sleep worrying about what I have to do tomorrow and wake up to do than if I would have sat and done it for 30 minutes before going to bed and writing a list for tomorrow, so that when I go to bed, I know I've got my list ready to go. And I'm not a morning person. But
Right.
so that's where you talk about the different ways to use the days or nights and days of week to look ahead.
So, first of all, we are people. We are an experiment. If you're not sure if you're going to do better with you doing your daily planning at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, experiment. Try it one week one way or another week another way, and you'll start to see what's better for you. Big picture is if you do your weekly planning, the daily planning is 5 minutes, because all the daily planning is this coming up, what do I want to accomplish today? And your prioritized task list has already done the bulk of that work. So you are just extracting, you're moving things from critical to hot, or from hot to today, and just coming up with that short little list of what I want to work on today.
I have this weekly planner that says this week, and it has the days of the week, and then it says next week in the sixth bottom corner. And I will tell you that this is not for my meticulous. It's just kind of, I almost kind of write things in order of how the day is going to go, like taking the digital calendar and putting it on, but then it helps me see. And if I do this on a Sunday night and look ahead to my week and say, okay, Monday, I've got these things. Okay, I'm probably going to have enough energy to do my returns on Monday night. And that would feel really good going into Tuesday, because Tuesday's slammed. And if I don't take those returns out of the car, because I know I have to use my car Tuesday, I'm going to have to take them out, put them in the garage, put them back in the car. So it's like having that, Ellen, when I am actively doing my weekly planning, my life is running so much better.
I'd like
And
to say two things, because
I'm saving time left and right by doing it.
one is that list would drive me crazy,
Oh,
because
funny.
it would get cluttered and ugly, but I would put Post-its over those and write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I would be able to, if it got like mucked up or ugly, I would just take the Post-it off and put a new one. Okay.
It gets ugly. That's
We
kind of
all,
some of my
we
joy
all
of it.
get to do what works for us. And if it
Right.
works for you, more power to you. Weekly planning, 1 hour a week. Schedule it. Friday at 4:00 does not work. You want to go home. So do it Friday at lunch. Monday morning, most people, it doesn't work. But put it on your calendar as a reoccurring event, 1 hour. If it takes you less, great. If you can't do it when you've scheduled it, move it.
Well, Ellen, we're already up. And I think this just means good thing that we're planning to come back to each other. We'll have Ellen back. We'll keep talking about these, how to bucket your time. We'll just take this episode and keep running with it on the next time. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this helped you all and gave you some tidbits for how to make sense of your own life. This is Colleen Waterston with Space by Space Organizing, and Ellen Faye with Productivity for How You're Wired. Reach out to us. My number is 612-747-1331.